which is number 7, concatenate. And so let's increase the width of that column, and let's turn this back into a white cell. So how can we use the concatenate function? Well, let's say if we have a list of names, the first name in column B and the last name in column C. And let's write some names. So let's say we have the name John Smith. Let's say Kelly Williams. And then Jackie Garcia. And then we'll say Lisa Clark. And let's say David Johnson. Now let's use the concatenate function. So I'm going to type in equal concatenate, and then parentheses, text 1, and then comma, text 2, close parentheses. And so notice that it puts the information in column or in cell B2, and it connects it with the information in cell C2. And if I want to, I can extend this information. Now, instead of doing that, notice that we need a space in between. So to put that space, go ahead and type in equal concatenate again, and then we'll type in cell B2. You can just highlight it, and then comma. In quotations, type in your quotation mark, space, quotation mark, and then comma, cell C2, close parentheses. So now it's going to put a space between columns B and C. And so the concatenate function allows you to basically combine the information in 2 columns and connect it in 1 column. And you could put anything in between. So you can put a space or any other data that you want to put in between those 2 columns. So that's number 7, the concatenate function. Now, number 8, the if function. How can we use that? So let's say if we have the name of a fruit. Let's say apple, orange, lemon, or let's say banana. So equal if. So the logical test will be based on cell B3. So if B3 is, let's say, an orange, I want Excel to tell me that it's true. If it's not an orange, I want it to tell me that it's false. So here this is false because it's not an orange. And I'm going to extend it. Notice that I do get a true statement for this being orange. If I change this to orange, it becomes true. If I change that to an apple, it becomes false. And so that's one way in which you could use the if statement. You can also use it to say something other than true and false. So let's say if cell B3 is a lemon, so for words you need to put it in quotation marks, comma. Now instead of typing true, I want to type in yes. So I have to put quotations yes. And the next one I can type in no, or I could say it is not a lemon. Whatever I decide to write here, it's going to replace the word false with that statement if it's not true. So here I don't have a lemon, so it is not a lemon. And now I can extend this. This one is a lemon, so I get an output of yes. Now, there's some other ways in which we can use the if function. So let's say if we have some numbers 15, 25, 50, and 84. So let's say if equals if cell B9, let's say if that is greater than 30, If that statement is true, I want Excel to basically perform a calculation rather than saying yes or no. And so that calculation will be, let's see, if it's true, I want Excel to multiply B9 by 10. If it's false, I want it to return a value of 0. And so in this case, B9 is not greater than 30. 15 is less than 30, so I got a value of 0. And now let's extend it. Here, 50 is greater than 30, so in this cell, it performed the calculation that I wanted to do. That is 50 times 10, I got 500. And here, 84 is above 30, so it multiplied 84 by 10, giving me 840. Now let's do something else. So let's do if, and let's start with B9 again. So let's say B9 is less than 30. So this time, I'm going to want Excel to basically take B9 and multiply it by, or rather subtract it by 10. Let's do something different. And if it's false, I want it to divide B9 by 10. So here, we know that 15 is less than 30, so we have the true statement, and thus we're going to subtract B9 by 10, giving us 5. And this is less than 30, so we do 25 minus 10, giving us 15. Now, for this statement is false, so we get the calculation that's involved with the false statement. 50 is not less than 30, so for the false statement, I wanted cell B11 to be divided by 10. So 50 divided by 10 is 5. And the same is true for this one. 84 divided by 10 is 8.4. And so you can make Excel perform certain calculations if the information in this cell is true or false based on your parameters. So let's say if we're analyzing this cell, and let's say it has two options, yes or no. So we can write if cell B14, let's say if it's yes, so let's put that in quotations. So if we have a yes entry in cell B14, what we're going to do is we're going to take the sum of this column. And if the statement is false, meaning let's say if we don't have a yes, such as let's say if we have a no, then instead of taking the sum, I'm going to take the average of this column. So this is a yes, which means I get the sum of those numbers. So if I type in equal 15 plus 25 plus 50 plus 84, I get 174. Now if I type in no, I'm going to get the average instead. So if we type in equal average 15, 25, 50, and 84, you'll get 43.5. And so by changing yes or no, I can basically cause Excel to perform a certain calculation. The calculation if the statement is true, in this case sum, or the calculation if the statement is false, in this case average. And so that's how you can use the if function in Excel. Now, number 9 is the VLOOKUP function. So that's the next one we're going to talk about. So how can we use the VLOOKUP function? Well, first let me fill in some information. So we're going to write the name of the individual, the email address, let's say a phone number, and also their annual revenue. I'm going to have to make this column bigger and this one smaller. So let's say once again we have John Smith, let's say Lucy Johnson, Aaron Clark, David Wilson, and Ronald James. Now let's say the email for this person, john.s@msn.com. Let's say Lucy Well, I don't want to do that. Let's say lucyj@live.com, and then aaron.c@gmail.com, david.w@hotmail.com, and finally ronald.j at, let's say, yahoo.com. And let's fill in some numbers. So let's say this is 243, and then 125-7463. You could fast forward this if you like. I'll be done shortly. And let's say the revenue for John is $56,000 per year, and Lucy's revenue is $74,000 per year, and Aaron's revenue is $82,000 per year. Let's say David is $93,000 per year, and Ronald is, let's say, $47,000 per year. Now let's talk about how we can use the VLOOKUP function to look up information for these individuals. And so here we're going to have the person's name, email, phone number, and revenue. So let's say we want to look up John Smith. Now let's look up his email address using the VLOOKUP function. So if you type in equal VLOOKUP parentheses, notice that you have this lookup value, and it's going to be whatever we look up in cell C8. Next we have the table array. So let's select this entire table, and then the column index number. So column A is not the first column, because the first column is column B, because that's the first selection in our table array. Now the email address is in column C, which is our second column that is highlighted. And the range, we have two options, true or false, but we're going to choose false for an exact match. And so we have John's email, john.s@msn.com. So if we change his name to, let's say, Lucy Johnson, automatically the email address will be updated. Now let's adjust the VLOOKUP function for the next cell. So the lookup value will still be cell C8. The table array will be the same. And the column index number will now be column 3 for the phone number. That's column D. That's the third column that is highlighted. And then let's choose false for an exact match. And so we get Lucy's number 352-452-9721. Now the last thing we're going to look up is the revenue. So our lookup value is still cell C8, same table array, column index number, the fourth column that is highlighted, and then let's choose false again. So her revenue is $74,000. And let's adjust the number format. Let's click more counted formats, and then let's put currency with 0 decimal places. So her revenue is $74,000. So if we change the name from Lucy Johnson to, let's say, Aaron Clark, we're going to get all the information for Aaron Clark, her email address, phone number, and her annual revenue. So that's how you can use the VLOOKUP function. The next one that we're going to talk about, number 10, is the use of a drop-down list. Now, the reason why this is useful is because let's say if you don't want to type in the information, if you want to just pull the name from a drop-down list, you can do that. And so a quick and simple way to make a drop-down list is to click Data and then go to Data Validation, and then under a section Validation Criteria, allow a list instead of any value, and then you can type in the names that you want, or you can click in this button and then select these names and then press enter, OK, and now we have a drop-down list. So if I select John Smith, it automatically updates. If I select Lucy Johnson, as you can see, it updates, or David Wilson, I can get his email, phone, annual revenue, or finally Ronald James. And so that's the 10th useful feature in Excel. And so that's it for this video. Hopefully you found it to be helpful. And if you want to find more detailed videos that I have on VLOOKUP, drop-down lists, if functions, and other stuff like that, check out the description section of this video, and you can find my Excel video tutorial playlist. You can also check out my channel if you want to find help in other topics. Let's say if you're going back to school and you want to learn algebra, geometry, trig, pre-cal, calculus, chemistry, physics, I do have playlists on those topics as well. So thanks again.